This video aims to explain the learning cycle that is now used by OCVC and Reading College. The learning cycle was originally developed at Sunderland College after considering high-yield strategies and also contemplating the ideas set forward by Petty about the structure and cycle of a lesson. Petty's concept of present, apply, review wasn't that it might fit a three-stage lesson teachers were used to, but that it provided several feedback opportunities for learners if it was seen as a model of a continuous cycle. This resource from How To explores this notion, with students visibly moving from present, up to apply, up to review, before returning back down to present again in order to continue their learning cycle. These images also explore effect sizes, which Petty was particularly interested in when developing the PAR model. He took his lead on effect sizes from Marzano and Hattie. The factors you can see here from Hattie are those that lead to higher grade leaps for students. Effect sizes 0.5 and above are believed to have a 1 grade effect on students' achievement, whilst an effect size of more than 1 can have a 2 grade effect on their achievement. Feedback is at the top of Hattie's list and is one to be explored. It was not thought that one factor might have a higher effect than another, but that lessons should incorporate a number of factors over a period of time. Sunderland College showed interest in Petty's PAR model, and subsequent development occurred. They added the connect and share stages, and over 4 years they witnessed a movement from 11 grade 1 observations to 21, and a percentage increase of good or better lessons from 68% to 80%. What is perhaps of even more importance is their observed impact on success rates for students. Over 4 years, high grades increased dramatically from 15% in 2007 to 2008 to 42% in 2010 to 2011. The cycle at Sunderland College was developed from discussions they had about what learning could be defined as. Learning isn't transmitted, but is constructed through interaction and dialogue. In a straightforward sense, it builds upon the student's previous understanding and experience, and the learning cycle was all part of this. We developed our learning cycle directly from what Sunderland College had achieved. As you can see, there are 5 key stages of the lesson, but these are underpinned by the many other things going on in the classroom. The learning environment is central to these 5 stages having an impact on learning. Think about how you're celebrating student successes, sharing learners' work, and ensuring safety in your own classrooms. Take some inspiration from the fantastic learning spaces around the college. Throughout your lessons, to ensure the 5 key stages have the biggest possible impact, you need to be checking students' learning regularly, focusing upon the recording of learning, promoting higher order thinking skills, and referring to the outcomes on a regular basis. You should use the Planning for Learning site for help with each of these aspects of your lessons. The first stage of the lesson is the connect stage. It is designed for students to connect this learning to previous lessons or previous learning. It is a chance for students to review their learning, but should also get their brains active and ready to achieve the new learning. The reasons behind this stage. If students walk into a lesson cold and you haven't given them a chance to warm up, then they won't be ready for any task that you give them in the lesson. Learning is made of building blocks. If a previous lesson is not connected to the next, then there's a chance it will be lost. And if learning is disconnected, it's more likely that the students will have gaps in their understanding. This part of the lesson could be run by you, but it is often the best part of the lesson that can be delivered by students. The second stage of the cycle is the share stage. This should include 2 key elements: sharing the learning outcomes for the lesson and sharing the structure of the lesson. This is the first point at which you can really share your expectations of students during the lesson, but it can be achieved in creative ways. The reasons behind this stage. You and the students need to be able to measure whether the learning has taken place by the end of the lesson. If the final desired outcome is not shared with the student, then they will not know what they are aiming for. If it does not exist at all, then how will you know the students have achieved what was necessary in the lesson? It also helps students to have a sense of what the lesson structure will be. But, depending on the lesson, this may not always be applicable, especially if you're hoping to surprise them along the way. Generally, this part of the lesson is teacher-led, but there are options for involving students. The third stage of the cycle, present, is where the content of the lesson is presented for the first time. It should appeal to a variety of senses and consist of a number of teaching strategies. It should also be equally divided between teacher and student. The reasons behind this stage. The first time students encounter new information is often daunting. If they are not actively involved or engaged, then the rest of the lesson could be spent exploring issues arising from a badly explained task or topic. If the material has been presented in a stimulating way, then they'll already be on board for the rest of the lesson. It is harder for students to deliver this part of the lesson, but not impossible. The fourth stage of the lesson, apply, is when students apply their new learning or take it out for a test drive. The students need to have a go with their new learning to feel comfortable with it. You need to see what the students think they know so that you can solve any issues they may have. This part of the lesson can take a number of forms, but only works as a student-led activity. If the students aren't involved, then it will be impossible for them to demonstrate they've learnt anything. The two key parts of the fifth and final stage, recall and review, are that it is an element of the lesson that supports retention and learning and overall lesson structure. This is the final point of the lesson at which you can check students' learning before their next lesson. You could find out what issues students still have with content, discover their confidence levels with what they've already learnt, and explore their depth of understanding. The reasons behind this stage. If students leave the classroom without having consolidated their learning, there's a high chance it will be lost. Think of recall and review as closing the circuit of learning. You could deliver a summary of what was covered in the lesson, but then you're only confirming the learning from your perspective. Getting students actively involved in this part of the lesson is a must, and one option is to ask them to deliver it. A number of other resources have been shared with you that explore the development of the learning cycle model for a lesson. These cover Petty's model, effect sizes, Marzano's research, and constructivist theory. If you have great lesson resources for a stage of the learning cycle, please share them with us on the Planning for Learning site using the Submit Your Own button.